What I tend to do is, with the hand that's not planting, I just kind of pull it, and I just feed the hand that's planting. And the less you look, you have to look back here, probably. We're not going to go that fast, I don't think. But you'll get the hang of it. It's really easy. It's kind of fun, too.
It's an unusual way for a farm to get started, is to have a group of consumers who say, you know what? We want to have our food grown locally. Here we are in the suburbs. What can we do? This group got together and met starting in April of 2000 at the Trax Cafe in Ambler, meeting every month, really trying to figure out what could we do. After about 2 years of contacting area farmers who were still in business, because most farmers had sold their land to developers at that point, there were still a few farmers in business, and started to talk to them about organic agriculture, sustainable agriculture, and found that no farmers really understood what we were talking about, nor were they interested in the concept. The concept of a CSA was still very new. The Natural Lands Trust heard about our request and knew that there was land in Horsham Township owned by the College Settlement of Philadelphia. This organization had recently undergone a land management plan and decided that they wanted some kind of community farming on their land. The Natural Lands Trust put us together, and we realized that there was a great deal of synergy here. So in May of 2003, we opened a CSA on the land of the College Settlement.
Because we don't use herbicides and insecticides and stuff, organic farming tends to be pretty heavy on cultivation, where we have to do a lot of labor as far as keeping the weed pressure down. Plastic helps big time with that, where we don't have to, you know, it does a lot of the weed aspect for us. It's not ideal. Hold on, Andy. But we can, we're actually using what's called Biotello. It's from Italy. It's a compostable plastic. That's not this stuff, but we're trying to make the transition.
As our farm became progressively more productive and our financial base for the farm became a little bit more secure, we started looking out, saying, you know, when you have an incredible harvest at the farm, sometimes we don't want any food to go to waste. How can we tap into the food distribution system within Philadelphia to feed the hungry? And our first partner in that quest was Philabundance. Philabundance had a program called Share the Harvest. They would come out here every week during parts of the year and pick up our extra produce and distribute it to food cupboards. They ran into some problems with that, in that the food was going bad at their warehouse. They had trucking problems, not proper refrigeration. And we met as a board of directors and said, you know, rather than have our food sort of go out anonymously, what we'd really like to do is to support the hungry in our own community. Well, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania is a very affluent county. We thought, are there hungry in Pennsylvania?
Food insecurity is defined as families not being sure where all their food needs for any given week are going to come from. And the TFAP, SFPP, and Loaves and Fishes food cupboard programs are designed to ensure that families like those have some additional resources for making sure that they're going to be able to put food on their families' tables. Eastern Montgomery County is one of the most affluent areas of the United States of America, not just affluent here in the Philadelphia area, but affluent in the entire United States. That being true, most folks are unaware that there's significant food insecurity in Eastern Montgomery County.
This here is a kind of kale. Kale is one of the most healthy things you can eat, and if you're a member of the CSA in Pennsylvania, you get a lot of kale in your share. And these you could actually make something that's like pub potato chips out of these. We transplant tomatoes, that's what Dennis is about to do. Hey, could you stick that one into that hole right there? Oh no. We've got to hoe the peas. We've got to hoe a lot of those things like carrots. Hold on. So we have different crops in different seasons. There's the winter, the fall crops and the spring crops, which include things like kale. And there's summer crops, which are things like tomatoes, cucumbers, squash, raspberries, blackberries, strawberries. All the fun stuff is in the summertime. You collect the eggs, feed the chickens, put the hens away every night, and you take the chickens in to get the chickens butchered. Oh, he's going faster now.
A lay member of the Jenkintown Church founded the Loaves and Fishes food cupboard almost 30 years ago. She got into contact with an organization by the name of the Community Action and Development Commission of Montgomery County, also known as CADCOM. CADCOM is the county group that handles the federal and state food distribution under the federal program called the Emergency Food Assistance Program, or TFAP, and the State Food Purchase Program, SFPP, of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
And our next challenge was, how do we distribute to the people that are closest to us? And we realized, again, we lacked refrigeration to hold things overnight. We would pick food in the morning, distribute it to all of our share customers through the CSA, and then whatever food was left over, we'd need somebody to come and get it right away. So in 2009, we received some funding for a walk-in cooler, which allowed us to then keep our food overnight, or even for a couple of days. Once we got that up, we contacted the area food banks. And as in 2009, we started distribution to the Jenkintown United Methodist Church food pantry called Loaves and Fishes, and also to Temple Beth Shalom's food pantry as well. We worked a distribution system out with them. They could come and pick things up out of our cooler. We swapped bins. It worked out very well.
The eastern Montgomery County area that we serve includes the communities of Willow Grove, Rockledge, North Hills, Glenside, Abington, both Abington Township and Abington Village, the borough of Jenkintown, the boroughs of Rockledge and Cheltenham, and much of Cheltenham Township. Approximately 50 families come to us for food assistance each week. In spring of 2009, I was contacted by Margot Bradley of Pennypack Farm asking how they might be of assistance to the Loaves and Fishes food cupboard. Margot explained their program of natural farming approach and told me that they would usually, in any given week during the harvesting seasons, have leftover fruits and vegetables available that they would like to have distributed through local food cupboard programs. I certainly was immediately intrigued and very interested. Margot and I coordinated to make sure that on Thursday every week that we were able to go to the Pennypack farm and pick up 2 to 3 bushel baskets. This ensured that all through last summer through late last fall that the families receiving food assistance here at Loaves and Fishes had some fresh vegetables to add to the non-perishable items, which is what we typically distribute to those families.
When we went to evaluate the program by actually visiting the food cupboards, we found that the food was really appreciated. There was no other provider of fresh produce to any of these food banks. And they were thrilled. They could come and pick it up on the day of their distribution and distribute it all that day. Again, they also did not have the kind of refrigeration to be able to keep it for periods of time. So we feel very good about that.
Well, today was a pretty typical day. We started at 8, and we were harvesting, and then we were washing, and then we only finished at about 2 o'clock. And now we have, we have to unload the feed, we have to transplant more, we possibly have to move the chickens. We've got to go around and correct what the wind damage, because there's always the weather is always doing something. So, a typical day involves doing whatever's needed and probably a couple other things that you weren't expecting you'd have to do that just happened. Like something that breaks or something like this. This fabric we put down to keep the insects off. There's a particular kind of insect that eats this kind of plant. And it's always blowing off in the wind. So we always have to go out here every time the wind blows with a shovel. You see all these holes in here? Say it's like, that's done by an insect. It looks sort of like Swiss cheese now. Now when we cover it with this white fabric, it should keep the insects out. I haven't actually looked under here, but let's just see the comparison. Well, it did an okay job. It's not 100%, but it looks better compared to the ones that are right outside here, like this one. This is what it would look like, but it shows that it's not 100%. But that's our typical organic farming percentage.
There are many things that we do here on the land. The college settlement has children during all summer long from underprivileged parts of Philadelphia that come out here for 2-week camping experiences. During that time, they come and visit the farm. So it's become very much a part of their programming as well.
This is our edible classroom, and it's where we hold all our children's programs, and we have a lot of field trips that come out from schools and from summer camps, and the children will be planting and growing tomatoes, basil, eggplant, cabbage, kale, all sorts of vegetables, all season.
What's happened over the years, we've had farm members here who have fallen upon difficult economic times, especially in the recession that's lasted over the last 2 years. We've got people who have been former members of the farm who said, you know what, I can't afford a regular CSA membership this year. If they reach a level of 200% of the federal poverty rate or less, they are eligible also for subsidized shares. Subsidized shares vary from $100 to $300 or $400 depending on their need. We have found some donors who are willing to pay a little extra for their shares to make up for it. And we currently have 3 families like that at the farm this year. They also do extra work on the farm in exchange.
So today was our family work day, and we had parents and grandparents and children out here, and we built up all the beds and put down compost and lined the beds with bricks and stones, and we made sure to water it to get all the compost and soil moist, and so in a few weeks we'll be planting.
Look over the garden wall and you will see 6 happy hens, the happiest hens in all of China. They live in Mimi's sandy yard by the Lee River, where they lay brown eggs every day for Mimi to sell at the market. But it was not always this way. One time I was picking some lettuce, and there was a frog in the lettuce, and it felt all slimy and funny. It didn't feel like lettuce at all. And I reached my hand in and I said, ah! And I was like, oh my goodness, what is it? And it moved and it jumped away, and he was the same exact color as the lettuce. And you know what's weird? The lettuce was red and green, and he was red and green too. Do you know what we call it when there's an animal that's like the same color and they're hidden in there like that?
Camouflage animal?
Camouflage, yes, exactly. Should come out. Yes, I will.
Our plans for 2010 are to significantly increase that program. I'm actually waiting for some funding right now, I hope to hear in the next few days, where we can also start offering full shares of the harvest, full CSA membership to low-income families in the area. We will be going to local churches and saying, do you have newly hungry families in your congregation? Could they be interested in becoming part of the farm?
Those families' tuitions, for lack of a better term, for the program at Pennypack will be paid by the grants. However, some members of the family will spend some of their own time, as do other members of the Pennypack farm, in order to work the land and to do the harvesting. Those families will benefit by receiving 1 share per family from the Pennypack farm through this very generous grant program.
There are a couple of other distribution systems that we're looking at. We also were donated a van, which has our name on it, and we're very proud of that. That will also aid in our ability to take refrigerated food elsewhere. That's really the sort of the evolution. We're now in our 8th year. Our lands are producing more and more food. We are very connected to the community. Many of the local churches are involved in the farm and support us in very big ways, and we want to be able to give back to them.